Run a restaurant and you learn pretty quick. The sound of a crisp fry starts way before the first bite. As delivery and to-go keeps business booming,
Order for pickup.
McCain's SureCrisp fries keep orders crispy.
Hey, delivery.
After the trip, the crispiness comes through. McCain's SureCrisp fries. Go the distance. See how far our fries can take your business at surecrisp.com/delivery.
Ladies and gentlemen,
We are coming back to Atlanta.
Right now. Whoa.
Mark your calendars because the second annual Black Effect Podcast Festival is happening on Saturday, April 27th. Hosted by B-Dot and Pretty V. Last year was nuts, but we about to do it bigger and better. We've got some of your favorite podcasts like Carefully Reckless, Horrible Decision, $1 Million Worth of Game, just to name a few. Tickets go on sale today, right now. Go to blackeffect.com/podcast festival. Get them. We'll see you there.
Save up to 35% on Samsung appliances, select TVs, and home theater at PC Richard & Son. Plus, up to $1,000 in instant additional savings when you combine 2 or more qualifying Samsung products. It's the Samsung Whole House event at PC Richard & Son.
Hey everyone, I'm Brian Austin Green.
I'm Sharna Burgess.
And I'm Randy Spelling.
And you are listening to Oldish, an iHeartRadio podcast. Well,
This is...
I can't even begin to explain to the audience what it took for us to even set up to record this
podcast.
very first episode of Oldish.
We had tech come in and try and help us figure it
it
out.
was a
Even
whole
they were
big-
like, I don't know.
It was an absolute testament to the name of this show,
of
this
Oldish.
podcast.
It was.
First of all, thank you all so much for listening and checking us out. My name is Brian Austin Green.
I am Sharna Burgess.
And I'm Randy Spelling.
There he is.
Yeah.
And this show is Oldish, and we are here to discuss all sorts of things that people either have trouble discussing or have questions about or need some advice on. That's what we are hopefully here for, as long as it's not technical advice, because we're not the ones to ask.
We would fail in that department.
Randy, don't put yourself in that department.
Right.
I think you will be just fine with the technical advice, especially because of your incredible background. But Brian and I have just lived a lot of life, and we like to think that we have some sort of right to give advice to people.
So how about the fact that I'm the one with, like, I have a recording studio, all sorts of stuff that I wire myself, and literally Sharna was the one who figured out the wiring over here at this house, because we have 2 microphones going. And Randy, again, as I said before, I'm absolutely jealous of the fact that you have one and you set up as easily as you did. And you look just completely like you haven't broken a sweat. I am, by the end of everything working, I was like, okay, that's the end of episode 1.
I'm sweating. I need a snack,
Right.
maybe some ice
I
cream. I'm not sure.
I hope everyone is good with this.
Randy, I think I would love to start with you sharing with people about yourself and what you do, because I think it's so cool that we partnered with you to do this podcast. Because like I said, we love to think that we can give advice, but you actually do that for a living. And I think people are really going to love listening to you and what you say, because I know that we certainly do. So take it away, Randy. Tell them who you are.
All right. I'm Randy Spelling. I am a professional life coach. I've been doing this for about 15 years. And I didn't set out to do this at all. I didn't think that my trajectory would end up this way. I was born into a very famous family. My father, Aaron Spelling, was a big television producer.
Never
Produced Beverly Hills 90210, which Brian, you were on.
Yeah.
And that's how we met. And also my sister, Tori Spelling, played your girlfriend. I mean, it was Donna and David.
So Randy, I've known since, how old were you when we first started doing the show? Because I was 17.
When the pilot was shot, I was just turning 12.
Just turning 12. And Randy would come to set, and he was like the little brother of Tori. It was like, oh man, Randy's here, and it's like we didn't want to curse in front of him, and we were all careful of what it is we did. But Randy and I have always gotten along from day one. We've always had a really cool, I would say, brotherly kind of relationship, where we've both sort of leaned on each other.
Yeah,
and reached
we
out to each
have.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, I was the closest with you out of anyone. I mean, of course, besides my sister, but out of anyone in the cast, you and I mean, I remember I was 13 and you were driving me around in summer and telling me all these stories, and my day was made. I watched 90210 as a fan because that was when I really started watching TV. So it was very strange to, this might be a strong word, idolize, but I idolized. I mean, I really was a fan of 90210, and then hanging out with you on the side was really cool. I always looked up to you.
So now that's so crazy for me to hear, because from my side, I was like, oh man, this is Aaron's son. Like this is, it was a much bigger deal for me to be hanging out with you. And I thought honestly that you could care less about our show and about sitting with me, because you had a much bigger life than the one that I had or had ever experienced. And your dad was our boss. He was running the show. So I felt like, oh, this little guy, you're going to grow up to be your dad. You're going to just be as powerful, if not way more than he is. And so it's crazy now to think like, oh, you watched the show and you were a fan, because it's like, I assumed you watched everything that he made. And,
well, then I played it cool.
Right. You did a great job.
Didn't know.
You played it very
which is
cool.
good. But it's really funny that you mentioned that, because I think that's what a lot of people thought about me. I'm sure my sister is, we're Aaron Spelling's children, and there was a lot of glamour and a lot of glitz growing up. Yeah. And so there was this big lifestyle growing up in a big house and, famous and all of that. So for me, Tori always wanted to be an actress. Since 5, she was acting. She always wanted to be out in front. I wanted nothing to do with it. I was shy. I was reserved. So that just people would pinch my cheeks and go, "Oh, are you going to be an actor?" And I said, "No, I couldn't pronounce P's. So I said, "I'm going to be a reducer like my father."
Perfect. Yeah.
And so I just never wanted to go into
I love that.
A reducer.
Yeah.
So I never wanted to go into the business. And then something happened, and you'll appreciate this because you lived it. At age 15, the show was just a mega success. And we took a family vacation. My dad didn't fly, so we would go to Vegas every year. And we were in Caesar's Palace at the Forum Shops. Mm-hmm. And everyone's carrying around those 16-foot drinks with the straws. And my father and Tori got mobbed. There must have been 200-300 people. And I stood and I watched other people that otherwise would never connect, never say hi to each other, never even look at each other, have this moment of connection. And there was something real in there, even though it was 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I watched the people give a hug or smile. And my sister and my dad were very kind, and they would walk away, and the energy that they felt, I locked onto that. And I said, I want that. I didn't know at the time that I wanted to, make an impact and connect with people, but I knew I could recognize what I wanted. So the only vehicle that I knew was acting. So I said to my parents the next day, I think I want to act. So I became an actor.
For the purpose of connecting with people. It was much more about
the purpose of connecting with people.
Yeah.
Because I saw the way that they left that interaction, and I wanted that.
Yeah.
It's amazing, because hearing that now, I never knew that before. But hearing that now, it makes absolute sense why now you are a life coach, why that is your passion. You just in watching. So for people that don't know, which is, I would guess is everybody, because this is our first episode. I was following Randy on Instagram, and he was always posting these really inspirational videos of just his daily life and his life with his daughters and at home, and just really appreciating the world and nature and what was around him. And I was so inspired. And I had this random idea of, I knew at that point in life that Sharna and I really enjoyed connecting with people and really hearing what it was they were going through and sharing with them what we were going through and finding a common ground within it all. And after watching probably a couple weeks of videos that you had posted, I reached out to you and I had this idea. I was like, because I used to do the show Loveline a lot when I was a kid, which was sort of it was a condensed version of this. It was on a rock. It was like a radio station kind of thing. And
it was Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew.
And Dr. Drew, yeah. And I did that show probably a dozen times just because I lived close to the radio station, and I sort of became friends with them, and it was a fun thing to do at the time. But I felt like that. What an interesting way of using podcasting and sort of opening the world up to everybody really communicating and learning how to deal with certain things in their lives. And what better a person to sort of helm that to me than you, in watching the way you were so passionate about it. And now coming into this, I clearly am aware of the fact that you and Sharna are the brains of this operation, and I'm more of like the comedic relief, if anything.
This is not true.
But the three of us have gone through so many things in our lives. It's so amazing to me that you are now living in Portland, doing what you do, and you're so passionate about it. And that's so obvious to see. And just in speaking to you, it's so obvious to hear, and it's so obvious to feel. You carry that with you.
Well, thank you. I'm blushing now. Well, I didn't always carry it. I mean, it's took me a lot to get here. It's been a long road. There's a lot to unpack about how I actually got to where I'm at, doing what I'm doing, and why I left that life and chose this. But we'll have to save that for another episode.
I'm Elliot Connie, and this is Family Therapy.
My best hopes, I guess, identify the life that I want and work towards it.
I never seen a man take care of my mother the way she needed to be taken care of.
I get the impression that you don't feel like you've done everything right as a father. Is that true?
That's true, and I'm not offended by that.
Thank you for going through those things, and thank you for overcoming them.
Thank God for deliverance.
Every time I have one of our sessions be positive. It just keeps me going.
I feel like my focus is redirected in a different aspect of my life now.
So, how'd we do today?
We did good.
The Black Effect presents Family Therapy. Listen now on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
My name is Johnny B. Good, and I'm the host of the new podcast, Creating a Con, the story of Bitcon. Over this 9-part series, I'll explore the life and crimes of my best friend, Ray Trapani.
I always wanted to be a criminal. If someone's like, oh, what's your best way of making money? I'm like, oh, we should start some sort of scheme.
You see, Ray has this unique ability to find loopholes and exploit them.
They collected $30 million. There were headlines about it.
His company, Centratech, was one of the hottest crypto startups in 2017. It was going to change the world, until it didn't.
I came into my office, opened my email, and the subject heading was FBI request.
It was only a matter of time before the truth came out.
You can only fake it till you make it for so long before they find out that your Harvard degree is not so crimson.
How could you sit there and do something that you know will objectively cause more harm in the world?
Listen to Creating a Con, the story of Bitcon, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
AAA helps you do life for less. Save on travel, 24/7 roadside assistance, and home and auto insurance. Plus, enjoy discounts on groceries, tickets, dining, and more. Thousands of experiences, thousands of ways to save. Join today at aaa.com/join.
Baby, I think it's time that we share with people that don't know, that are tuning in, how we even came to be together, right? People know you from 90210. I'm a Dancing with the Stars dancer. How did we randomly end up in the same space?
Yeah, okay. So Sharna and I have we have a business manager in common. And business manager came to my house, and I made coffee, and we were kind of hanging out and catching up on things that were going on. And she left my house, and she sent me a text about 5 minutes later saying, hey, I've got another client I think you should meet, which was completely out of the blue, because if you know this woman, you know she's not that, you wouldn't ever think that was her MO. Like,
no, she's not a Cupid. Like, it was such a weird request from her.
She is straight business, and she's really good at what it is she does. So when she said that to me, I was like, that's interesting. All right, yeah, I would definitely entertain that. And then she
basically did the same thing to me. She called me and she was like, listen, I have this client, and when I'm with him, I think of you, and when I'm with you, I think of him, and I just feel like you're meant to meet. And he was doing Masked Dancer at the time. She's like, look, just make it a coffee date. Make it about dance. You're trying to help him. You know, he's about to judge on his dance show.
It doesn't even need to be a date. It can be like you guys just go and have coffee and talk about dancing.
Yeah, just see how you feel. And I was like, oh, okay. And knowing that she's got like a wide range of clients, I was like, oh, who is it? Would I know them? She's like, yeah, it's Brian Austin Green. And for me, I was like, who's that? You know, I didn't have a recollection of his name. So I looked him up. I was like, oh, I know that guy, of course.
She didn't realize at that point what an amazing dancer I was.
Yeah.
And so, you know, she had to go back through the books a little bit to realize, like, oh, he's classically trained. So I'm sorry, go on with your story.
So we met for that coffee date, and that wasn't a date. Well, funnily enough, I turned up a whole day early to it, which is very unlike me, to turn up early to anything. And she sent me a text, and she was like, hey, so I'm here now. I'm sitting in the back corner. I have pink hair. You can't miss me. And then she texted me again, and she was like, hey, so 11 o'clock, right? I was at work. On set.
I was on set. I hadn't even checked my phone. I didn't know that she was texting me, because we weren't supposed to be meeting until the day after. So I finally checked my phone. I'm seeing like these, you know, I'm sitting in the corner. I've got pink hair. You can't miss me. And then finally it was like
all the blue bubbles of just me. No response. Just all the blue bubbles.
And then finally the last message from her was, oh, this was supposed to be tomorrow.
Just kidding. It's Thursday, not Friday.
You were just excited, Sharna.
Yeah, I was so excited. Yeah. That it, you know, eventually turned up, and this dick texts me the morning of. He's like, so today, right? Yes, you did. You absolutely texted me. But
I did not say it in a dickish way. I didn't. I said it in a humorous
dick way.
Okay, I'll give you that.
You know, just double checking that it's today.
Yeah.
But we had already had fun banter, so he knew I could receive a text like that and have a laugh at it. And then we turned up to coffee, and like 4 or 5 hours later, we'd lost time. And we, you know, just left that coffee date knowing that we wanted to do it again and again. And we did. And we ended up dating.
We made a really big, like a concerted effort, though, when we were talking those few times when we were sitting down. They were like 4 hour conversations. These were long conversations that we were having, which was one of the things that was so attractive to us about each other in the first place.
The ease of it all.
We made a real concerted effort, though, of being real in those conversations, talking about things that we weren't good at. I remember at one point we sort of challenged each other. We were like, hey, what are some of your worst qualities? And we would get into those conversations.
That was our third date.
Was it our third date?
Yeah. At Plata.
Yeah, see, I'm pretty sure I said
those didn't scare you off, hearing each other's
I'm pretty sure I
worst
said at
qualities?
that date that I have a terrible memory, which makes sense then for you saying right now, it was our third date in doing that, and I having no recollection.
You talked a lot about your impatience, and
did.
that you had done a lot of work on finding patience, and we talked about being in therapy and working on those things and recognizing them. I talked about like my hypersensitivity, which I can get.
It didn't scare us off, Randy, because I think honestly, I feel like it really helped with our relationship, because I think that normal honeymoon period that people go through when they're first together is you are on your best behavior and you're trying to be absolutely everything that you think the other person would like all the time. But that's not sustainable. And after about 6 months, you get to the point where it's like, you're stressed, you're traveling, you're late for something, you've gotten a call that you didn't like. And then that side of you comes out. And if you've been hiding that for 6 months, then it's like, oh, here, now it's getting real. And so then the honeymoon period goes away because you can't wear that mask of how amazing you are.
Trying to be perfect for someone else,
Yeah, it's true.
Beyond 6 months.
The first 6 months to a year is a facade. You're playing at your best. You're showing your best.
Which is such a shame, and I think that's the mistake that so many people make with dating that we didn't, because it's not you being authentic. And then you're also not seeing the other person's authenticity or not. You're just not representing yourself in an authentic way. And you're so concerned about that other person liking or accepting you that you're also missing the cues of them telling you who they are. And then everyone gets to a year down the track and they're like, wait, what happened? Why is this annoying me now? Or why does this not feel good anymore? And it's like, well, the signs were there. The opportunity to know each other was there, but you were more concerned about, being a perfect version for someone else instead of realizing whether this was not compatible for you. So we didn't try and show up and be perfect. We were completely imperfect, shared the things that were difficult, shared therapy, it's not shared going to therapy, but like things that we'd worked on. And sort of the less fun, cool, sexy side of things. And somehow that ended up being the coolest, sexiest thing we could have done, to actually get to know each other on a real level and feel such a deep level of comfort in being yourself. There is nothing more sexy than feeling completely free to be you and knowing that someone sees you for that person and is choosing to be there. And I love that. I love that we had that journey with each other. And it doesn't mean that we don't still have like those frustrated moments you talk about, or something stresses you out or whatever, but he knows my cues and my triggers. I know his. We can have real grown-up conversations about things. He was checking in with me the last 2 days. We'll get into this, but like about, am I doing okay because of, what's going on? And instead of taking my tone or whatever personally, just knowing me and knowing where I'm coming from with something and not feeling like it's about him. And does that make sense? Am I just rambling on for no reason?
No, that absolutely makes sense.
I'm Elliot Connie, and this is Family Therapy.
My best hopes, I guess, identify the life that I want and work towards it.
I never seen a man take care of my mother the way she needed to be taken care of.
I get the impression that you don't feel like you've done everything right as a father. Is that true?
That's true, and I'm not offended by that.
Thank you for going through those things, and thank you for overcoming them.
Thank God for deliverance.
Every time I have one of our sessions be positive. It just keeps me going.
I feel like my focus is redirected in a different aspect of my life now.
So, how'd we do today?
We did good.
The Black Effect presents Family Therapy. Listen now on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
My name is Johnny B. Good, and I'm the host of the new podcast, Creating a Con, the story of Bitcon. Over this 9-part series, I'll explore the life and crimes of my best friend, Ray Trapani.
I always wanted to be a criminal. If someone's like, oh, what's your best way of making money? I'm like, oh, we should start some sort of scheme.
You see, Ray has this unique ability to find loopholes and exploit them.
They collected $30 million. There were headlines about it.
His company, Centratech, was one of the hottest crypto startups in 2017. It was going to change the world, until it didn't.
I came into my office, opened my email, and the subject heading was FBI request.
It was only a matter of time before the truth came out.
You can only fake it till you make it for so long before they find out that your Harvard degree is not so crimson.
How could you sit there and do something that you know will objectively cause more harm in the world?
Listen to Creating a Con, the story of Bitcon, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Bring excitement to your landscape with proven winners, Color Choice Shrubs. These flowering shrubs and evergreens have been trialed and tested by experts to make sure they look better and bloom better, so they're just as easy to care for as what's in your landscape now, but a whole lot more colorful and interesting. Look for proven winners, Color Choice Shrubs, in the distinctive white container at your local garden center, or learn more at provenwinnerscolorchoice.com.
I have a question for both of you. Brian, obviously, I know some of your past relationships. Sharna, I don't know your past relationships, but you both have had past relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
In relationships, people tend to repeat patterns. So what I'm interested in just to know is not so much of what were the similarities of your past relationships, but what was it about each of you that felt different in this relationship? Because we could repeat easily, but was there something that struck you as, oh, this is different?
I think for me, it was the fact that I honestly felt after my marriage fell apart and didn't work, I really made a concerted effort of deciding in that moment that I didn't want to repeat the mistakes that I had made before. I wanted to go to therapy. I wanted to really work on my skills as far as just communicating with people, with listening, with being compassionate, and not taking things personally, not all of a sudden getting defensive if somebody if somebody disagreed with me. And for me, then sitting with Sharna and realizing that she had done the same thing. She had come from relationships that didn't work out, and she really realized that she was the
common denominator.
She was the common denominator within it all. She was the common thread to all of those things. We both were at a place in our lives where
taking accountability instead of putting it on other people.
And we were good. I was good being alone. I had been alone for a year and a half now at this point, almost 2 years, and I had really felt comfortable and excited about parenting and everything that went with it, and finding my own voice and finding my way of connecting with people, and finding what was authentic to me, and not feeling were concerned about it or concerned about the way it was viewed by other people. I didn't feel I didn't feel what is the word? I didn't worry so much about being judged. I didn't feel, I felt very confident with myself. I didn't lack confidence, which I had for so long. So I went into this relationship in that way. And for me to feel that Sharna was in the same place and we were on the same road, it was like, oh, okay. For me, then we should just travel this road together, because we'll be so much stronger together. And I love spending time with you. I love being around you. I love hearing her take on things and her opinion of things. And it really matters to me. It really means a lot to me when she talks about things and she has a different opinion than I do. I really want to hear her opinion, which I don't feel I did before. I think I was too defensive just in life to be able to openly hear somebody's opinion and not feel like, oh, well, they have that opinion because it's a judgment on me and how I live and what I think.
And Brian, I saw that change in you because, again, I knew you. We lost touch for almost 20 years or 18 years. There was a good chunk of time. And I knew you, you were in your 20s. I was a teen. And so I saw that in you. You knew what life was, and you had a way, and you had a direction, and you saw it a certain way. Yeah. And then when you reached out to me and you talked about this podcast, one of the things that got me most excited, we were talking, you were telling me about the kids, right? You're like, I have 5 kids, and I've been through these different relationships, and you've gone through a lot. But you said what excites me most, Randy, and why I really want to do this is I like listening to people. I've learned to listen. And you were so genuine and authentic when saying that. And you said, even if I don't agree with someone's point of view, a lot of times someone will write me on social media or I'll be talking to someone and we will have opposing views. And look, in this day and age where everything is polarized and there's right, left, up, down, good, bad, wrong, right, and it's crazy making, I think what people need most is how to be able to listen. We've forgotten that art in many ways, how to listen, even if there's an opposing view, and how to talk about something, even if at the end of it, you don't agree. Maybe you have a little bit more understanding. Maybe there's something that has moved for you or changed or added to perspective. And that to me is a big part of what this podcast is about, is we all 3 are probably aligned on a lot of things. And there's things that we see differently and might come at it from a different angle. Yeah. And we're going to be interacting with people. So all you listeners, we're going to be able to interact with you live. You can call in. Yeah. You can write in. We want to hear from you and hear what's going on for you. Maybe we can shed some light on it. Maybe we can share our experience. We're imperfect. We are fallible, just like you, but we all have experience, right?
For me, what was different is that I was a serial monogamist my whole life. And I realized when I got to 30, I had been dating all different versions of the same man, which very much represented my dad in some way. And I did not have a good relationship with my dad. But I had, that little girl that lives, that runs your heart, looked for what represented love. And so I went in search of those things, and I found I was always dating the same men. And that's when I realized it's not on them. I even, to be honest, would date there were some words. There were a few guys that I dated that I made out to be this thing, but truly I think I created it because that was what I was used to. So if that turmoil or struggle wasn't there, I created that because that's where I found comfort. And I got to my 30s and I realized, okay, yeah, it was the last breakup I went through, and I realized I'm the common denominator here. And so if this is going to change, then it's going to have to start with me. And I started my spiritual journey. I started my therapy journey. I decided I wasn't going to date for 18 months, which turned into 5 years because 18 months goes very quickly when you're on this journey of self-discovery. And I made a ton of, missteps and mistakes along the way, but I had so much beautiful personal growth, and I got to know myself and put myself first and what I wanted, what felt good to me. And some of it was trial and error. But it was that journey that when I finally got to this place, and at this point I'm in my mid-30s and I'm thinking, I'm ready for the one, but if they don't come, I love my life, and I can have a baby by myself. I'll do that by 38. I'm good. I'm actually really good. I love everything about the way that I'm living and what I'm doing and the choices that I can make and what's ahead of me. So I'm good. And then very quickly, within that space of feeling fine being on my own and loving my life, I was connected with Bri. And I think it was because I was ready to connect with someone and not need them, but be able to have them in my life and share, but not be codependent or not, be looking to them to fill a hole or a gap or find happiness with, that to simply just share who I am with them and see if we can share a life with each other. And it was very, very different to come at dating from a space of, oh, I'm good, but I'm just going to get to know you and see if we feel compatible. But if not, I'm good. Yeah. And to genuinely know and have that feeling, that confidence and that security within myself, I think also just created a much more inviting and wonderful energy around me for other people to meet and be around. And so it was the greatest thing I did was diving inward in my 30s and realizing as much as a lot of it sucked, and as much as you can pinpoint individual situations with people in your history, that was, of course, they were not a great person when that happened. If you learn to take accountability for the direction and the situations you've been in and say, I want to take charge and make sure that I never allow those things again, or I never allow myself to be in this space again, then you can really change your life.
So I think it's funny when you were talking about self-discovery and you were like, oh, I made a bunch of missteps along the way. Because I've really found in life the things that I've learned, I've learned way more from my failures than I have from my successes. I've learned from every misstep that I've made, every mistake that I've made, every obstacle that I've run up against has forced me to look in a new way at something and come up with a new game plan. So I think it's, to me, when somebody says, God, it's a real struggle and I'm making a lot of mistakes, I feel like, yes, that's awesome. You're doing a great job. Like you're on the road to growth. That's what it takes. Mm-hmm. I think it's like people that never hurt themselves when they're like riding a bike or doing something like that. And it's like, oh, well then you're not trying new stuff. You're just like playing it as safe as possible, to not fall.
Yeah. Yeah. It reminds me of the story. I forget her name, but it's the owner of Spanx.
Mm-hmm.
And she told a story where they said, what do you attribute your success to and your work ethic and all that? And she said, we would sit down at the dinner table. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but we would sit down at the dinner table and my dad would ask me, how did you fail today?
Interesting.
And
so
when I first,
yeah,
right. Cause when I first heard that, my reaction, because of the association I have with the word failure and it not feeling good, it was a gut punch. I was like, oh, that feels terrible to talk about. But she had a different experience with it because her experience was, his thought around it is, hey, if you didn't fail, you didn't try something new. So when you try new things, you are going to fail. It's built in. It is a part of life. So she attributed her success to learning how to fail, actually striving for trying new things, knowing that she was going to fail. And I heard that and I thought, oh, that's such an interesting way of looking at it. So Brian, when you mentioned that, here's the thing. And here's one of the reasons why we named the podcast Oldish. I don't think that when you are in a place that you fail or you are disappointed, that moment, it's not easy to go, oh, well, this is growth. Look, I failed. It didn't turn out the way that I wanted. Everything's going to be okay. You're in it and it sucks and it feels terrible. It's only in retrospect when you have some time, space, distance, and you look back.
Absolutely.
And you go, oh, that's why it turned out the way that it did. I can connect the dots now.
I'm Elliot Connie, and this is Family Therapy.
My best hopes, I guess, identify the life that I want and work towards it.
I never seen a man take care of my mother the way she needed to be taken care of.
I get the impression that you don't feel like you've done everything right as a father. Is that true?
That's true, and I'm not offended by that.
Thank you for going through those things, and thank you for overcoming them.
Thank God for deliverance.
Every time I have one of our sessions be positive. It just keeps me going.
I feel like my focus is redirected in a different aspect of my life now.
So, how'd we do today?
We did good.
The Black Effect presents Family Therapy. Listen now on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
My name is Johnny B. Good, and I'm the host of the new podcast, Creating a Con, the story of Bitcoin. Over this 9-part series, I'll explore the life and crimes of my best friend, Ray Trapani.
I always wanted to be a criminal. If someone's like, oh, what's your best way of making money? I'm like, oh, we should start some sort of scheme.
You see, Ray has this unique ability to find loopholes and exploit them.
They collected $30 million. There were headlines about it.
His company, Centratech, was one of the hottest crypto startups in 2017. It was going to change the world, until it didn't.
I came into my office, opened my email, and the subject heading was FBI request.
It was only a matter of time before the truth came out.
You can only fake it till you make it for so long before they find out that your Harvard degree is not so crimson.
How could you sit there and do something that you know will objectively cause more harm in the world?
Listen to Creating a Con, the story of Bitcoin, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Are you a business owner looking for a new bank? Look no further than Manasquan Bank's Bundle for Business. With Core Business Checking, you can manage your finances with ease and convenience. Their business credit card offers competitive rates and rewards to help grow your business. Clover Merchant Services makes it easy to accept payments from your customers. With business online banking, you can access your accounts and make transactions anytime, anywhere. No business is too small when you think big. Because when you succeed, we succeed too. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
When I was going through the health stuff that I was going through, the neurological stuff, I remember at points thinking to myself, like, what is the purpose of this? This is just horrible. But looking back on it now, that was an absolute catalyst for me. Like, that was the kick in the butt that I needed to really step back and look at my life and go, okay, what do I want to change? Like, who do I want to be coming out of this experience? So it was invaluable for me that way. At the time, though, miserable. I was absolutely miserable. I mean,
that's probably a really good segue into it, because I have stuff that I said I was going to talk about. But speaking of, like, in the back end, you know, in retrospect, understanding why things play out the way that they did. It's known now, the cast has been leaked, but I wasn't asked back to do Dancing with the Stars this year, which was definitely a huge shock to me. Last season, I was supposed to come back, but Zane was only 8 weeks old. And I was speaking with them about it, and it just felt like I needed to sit in motherhood with Zane. It was my first baby, first experience. It was a lot, but beautiful. And I just wanted to not feel like I walked away from that experience and something that I would never get back with Zane, you know? So I wanted to share that time with him. And it was always in the, like, as long, you know, I want to come back next year. And it's like, of course, you know, we love you. We'll always have you. And I did drop in and let them know, you know, it goes without saying, but I would love to be back next season or this season. Hopefully I'll get to come hang out with you guys, whatever my message said. And then it got to the week of everyone getting their phone calls. And, you know, I know when everyone's got their phone calls because we're all talking. They say don't tell anyone, but everyone tells each other in the cast. I got the call. Are you good? And I realized when those spots were all filled, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't get the call. I didn't get any phone call at this point, but I didn't get confirmed whether on or off. I just knew because of other people. And that was really hard. But what's funny is I had been saying to Bri for the weeks leading up to it, I just have this feeling. I have this feeling they're not going to have me back. And he was like, babe, you're crazy, you know. And anyone that I shared that thought with, that I thought was just an insecurity, but maybe was an insight, was like, no, you're insane. They would never not have you back if you want to be back. I'm sure they're so excited to have you. So it was really, because it was such a shock, because I wasn't expecting it, it was tough. And it's not the first time. My last 5 years with the show have been
Rocky.
Yeah. And not because of the show. I love the show deeply, but you know, we had a new executive producer come in, I think it's 5 years ago now, and I had just won with Bobby Bones, and he decided to not bring me back. There's a lot of speculation as to why. My win with Bobby was, I think, the most explosive and controversial win of Dancing with the Stars history. And so I got caught up in this whirlwind of hate for that win, which was really yucky. And so then I went into this space of like self-blame when I wasn't asked back if it was my fault or what did I do. But I worked through that and that was good. And they had me back the following season. And I had a partner that was really difficult, and to not say, too much because I don't want to, but I wasn't able to be in the room alone with him after the first couple of weeks because of things that happened. And so that was rocky and we were eliminated very quickly. And then it was my experience with Bri, which was wonderful, but at the same time, same producer that was an executive producer that's no longer there, who I did not love what he did with the show, but the way he was playing our relationship, constantly only talking about that, hearing from people around that they were genuinely trying to like just have this spotlight on our relationship, and not his neurological stuff, not his experience, not our working through this together, but just to almost say our relationship was the issue with the dancing in some way.
Right. And
I did text someone at that time and was like, hey, this isn't what we signed up for. If this is what you want from us, you just have to eliminate us because we can't do this. And we were quickly eliminated after that. Then the following season was Zayn was born and I said no. And now we're here and it's like, gosh, in 5 years, I feel like I haven't had the opportunity to truly do what I do. I'm still that girl that created for James Hinchcliffe and Josh Norman and Nick Carter and Noah Galloway and all these epic, memorable, unbelievable pieces. I'm still that girl that loves to tell a story and create and dance her ass off, but I haven't had that moment to shine.
She worked with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone on La La Land on their dance numbers, right?
I did, yeah. Well, that was Mandy Moore that choreographed, who was wonderful, incredible, but she trusted me to be one of the people to come and teach for her, and that was amazing. So it's no shade on the show or, because essentially shit happens. They say it's not personal, but it's really hard for it to not feel personal because so much of who I am is this dancer and creator and storyteller that gets this opportunity to do that on one of the, in my opinion, greatest shows on television. So for me, it's two things can be true. I can love the show and be so excited for everyone that got the position to be there and really thrilled for the people that they have. But I can also be really sad and heartbroken that I don't get to do that this season. And I don't know if that means I'll ever get to do it again. And to be feeling that uncertainty of, wow, is this part of my journey over now? And where does it go from here? Sure. I'm excited about having the space to create other things again. And I know the universe has done this for a reason, created this space for me to be able to focus on the next thing. But it feels really sad to be like, oh, well, not only is it that ego thing, right? If they didn't want me, it's also just that letdown of I thought I was going to have that moment to express and be me before baby, me before kids, me before Bri, that me that loved to just immerse herself in someone else's story and creating for them and get to share that with millions of people. And I think I'm really sad that I don't get to feel that part of me, because I think many mums will say, after baby, you start to look for those remnants of who you were before. And that was such a big part of that for me. So I'm definitely sad to not have that to go back to.
I think sometimes being on that road too of closing doors and to make space for new ones to open, it's the uncertainty within that can just be really, like you said, hard to deal with. You try and look for the silver linings of things and you try and be as positive as possible within them. But you're in these moments and you're like, why is this happening? Like, why, and sometimes it's the universe just sort of kicking you, going, okay, I'm going to do this for you. Like I've been trying to, things have been trying to push you in this direction for years and you aren't doing it yourself.
Right.
So it's got to be something outside of your control that then does the pushing. So you're stuck then having to deal with what's left, which is then it creates, again, the catalyst for you to move forward.
It's totally a catalyst. And what Bri said is so right. The universe has been trying to get me to do this for 5 years. It's been putting me in uncomfortable situations around this space for 5 years now. And I keep clawing and like fighting and manifesting and trying to create that I go back to it because I love it so much, and I love the people, and I love the show. And God, especially now that Conrad Green's back, it's an incredible show again. But I have to listen to the universe that she is saying, hey, that's great, and you're so good at that, but you can also be so good at other things if you just give yourself a second to focus on them. And I trust that. I trust that Dancing with the Stars is a part of my career and a part of my life, but not all of it. And that there is so much more to come for me in the world of what I can do. I've had so many ideas for such a long time. I've had so many opportunities waiting for a long time that now I can and should focus on making those bigger, and focus on making those things actually happen. And, who knows if it was, I don't know. You got to think it's like, the universe is always taking care of you, right? So it's always for the greater good of you, the catalysts or the whatever. So who knows what is ahead for me? Who knows if I will go back or will not next year? I have no idea.
Disappointment is an interesting space and emotion. I'm not sure.
It's also rejection, right? Like that feeling of rejection.
Yeah, I mean, because what they say there are only truly in life a few different emotions that you feel, and then all of the sort of terms in the boxes that you create all sort of lead back to those in one. Like disappointment is, at the end of the day, is sadness, right? I mean, isn't it? And you're labeling it as disappointment based on a situation that you went through.
Right. So it's sadness about. So for Sharna, for you, it would be sadness that.
Oh, do I finish the sentence?
Yeah.
Sadness that
we're learning this as we go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sadness that I don't get to have that experience with people that I love and doing what I love this season. And it was because I had genuinely just assumed that I would get to do it. And was batting away that feeling of, but you might not.
I've said to her before, though, I think part of that sadness of like, oh, I'm not going to have that feeling that I did before. She may not necessarily have had that feeling even if she had gone back to it, because she is now a different person than she was in her 20s when she started doing the show. And the experience is different. Mm-hmm. And she's in a relationship, and she has children. And so it's she's in a different place. So maybe this is saving you the experience of disappointment in it not being what you always hoped it would feel like and
totally.
Be.
I mean, look, and I've said this to Bri too, and if it is the case that the last season I did that was with Bri is the last season that I ever get to do, that's also really freaking beautiful. There's something stunning about the fact that I got to do my last season on a show that I love with the love of my life, regardless of our experience of it and the little things we got to share, and he got to see a part of me. And I think that's invaluable and beautiful and a gorgeous way to go out. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, maybe I would have come back this season and it would have been a really difficult partnership and put a lot of stress on or not been, but it's all maybes. Who knows? Who knows what it could have or would have been? All I know is that I am here with what's ahead of me. I'm so grateful that I get to do this with you guys and talk about these things and share with other people. And I'm really excited to see what else comes in for me, what I can manifest and what I can call
in being around Sharna through this experience. One of the things that I have noticed that I think was one of the most heartbreaking for her was the disappointment of the way that it went down. And I've gone through this before. I remember doing a show on TBS, Wedding Band, and we did a season of it. And we really loved doing it. And we were waiting to hear afterwards whether we were picked up or not. And I didn't find out about the show being canceled from anyone at TBS. I found out from Variety, I think it was. Now, mind you, I would speak to the head of TBS and the people up there constantly. So the disappointment for me in not having someone that I thought was truly a friend beyond just the show that I was doing reach out to me and go, hey, so this is, listen, things have kind of gone in this direction, and I don't think the show's going to come back. And so I think for Sharna, it was kind of, it seemed like it was a lot of the same thing of she's been up there for so long, and she had friends that she would have loved to have heard that news from, instead of having to hear it from fellow dancers on the show. It's like, that's great, and it's amazing that she would be able to have that conversation with them. But it would have been nice if she had heard from people there in the first place before the news came out, or she had to hear it from others that people reached out to her and they said, hey, listen, so I know you were hoping to do it this year, but it didn't work out, and this is kind of our plan, and this is, but we love you, and we've had such a great time with you, and so from my view in the situation, which that happens a lot.
It's kind of just the industry. You know what I mean?
It just seems rampant in life.
Yep. There's disappointment.
Yeah.
Disappointment,
There's situational, circumstantial disappointment that it just doesn't turn out the way that you want. And then there's emotional disappointment of the way that it's handled. And that can even be more activating and triggering because it brings up your stuff.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't someone call? And then it opens up the Pandora's box of what ifs, right? Why? And then you're trying to figure out, what was it? And
you just start making shit up.
Is it going to affect other things? Are people then going to look at this and think like, oh, I'm not good enough? Or like how,
right.
How big are the ripples in the pool going to be?
You start to get so concerned about what other people think of this instead of, the focus in on your own feelings. But yeah, it does. It brings up my mum would always call them the gremlins. It brings up the gremlins. You know, those things, that self-talk, that not self-talk, well, the negative self-talk, right? The worst best friend that lives in your head, that you work so hard to be like, I'm good, and not listen to and work through those things. It just makes them a little bit louder when you go through something like that for anyone, for any type of disappointment. But again, I think I'm trying to take myself back to, something that Bri said of it being a catalyst. And if there is anything I know about my life, is that when disappointment happens, whether it be a snapped ACL at the World Championships or not being asked back to Dancing with the Stars and anything in between, something great has come from it. A lesson, a journey, something that has needed to happen to push me forward to the next thing. It has always been the way. So, I lovingly and I am so incredibly excited and filled with love for the show and the people that are on it. And I will, of course, be a cheerleader for my people on it. And I'm going to be optimistic and really excited about that space and time that I now have to let this be a catalyst and shoot me into a different direction, if that is what is supposed to happen, I guess.
It's what choice do you have?
There's a great Rumi quote.
Oh, I love Rumi. What's the Rumi quote?
It says, act as if the universe is rigged in your favor. And it sounds like that's what you're doing.
It's a tough one to do.
It's so tough. Like, I love that quote and I am all about it. And I even preach stuff like that to people. But when you're really in your feels, like I have, I meditated 3 times today to try and get my shit together for this podcast because I was really feeling in my feels about this situation. And I found out like 2 weeks ago. So I don't know why the last 2 days I've really been feeling it so much. But some days it's just harder than other to live that idea of live as though the universe is rigged in your favor. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to rein in the gremlins,
Yeah. And I think that's all part of the process, right? Because through the disappointment, through the gremlins being alive and activated, you get to work with those parts of self that are still there.
Right.
there's layers that you go, oh, that's there again. Okay, here's an opportunity. And you're right. You can look at a quote like that. You said this earlier, both things could be true. You could know that doors are opening now, that this window may have closed, 5 other opportunities might come. And at the same time, there's still a grieving period. There's still a moment where you have to take in and allow yourself to feel the feelings around it while knowing, bird's eye view, there's something in process for me and it's happening, and I feel the way that I feel. You can't just bypass it.
So true. That's exactly it, Randy.
Yeah,
you said it.
people tend to think that feelings are like mutually exclusive and
singular. They're
not.
And
the reality is you can have multiple feelings all happening at one time. You can be super excited for somebody, but then you can also be super self-deprecating or down on yourself, or feel like, God, I would have loved to have that opportunity. And then at the same time feel like, oh, I wish I was wearing that shirt that so-and-so. It's all the little things.
God, it's exhausting, isn't it?
Is
it exhausting?
So exhausting. It
out.
is. Yeah. So let's let people know that, we want to hear from them. I mean, we'd love to hear.
Yeah. Yes.
Have you gone through disappointment?
Or currently going through it, and maybe we can just be your sounding board, or help you with. I think
it's important with disappointment. If you are experiencing any, or if you know of anybody that's experiencing any, to reach out to people, to not be afraid to reach out and just kind of be there and be a sounding board if they need to talk about it and sort of air the situation a little bit. That goes a long way.
Yeah, I would love to hear from people on our Oldish pod and Instagram, and sending us a DM about anything you are experiencing now or have experienced previously with disappointment. Maybe you have some great advice for us. Maybe we have some great advice for you, but I think people really benefit from listening to other people's experience of disappointment and us working through it.
And to normalize this, right?
Totally.
No matter where you're from, no matter who you are, we all experience this. This is the human condition. It's human behavior. And so understanding, like you said, Sharna, sometimes you can be a little bit more introverted or, quiet at times socially. This is all okay. This is where we get to talk about stuff. It comes up and we go, oh, yes, so-and-so feels like this. That gives me permission to feel a little bit more comfortable with myself, that I'm not crazy. We live life sometimes so isolated in our heads that we judge ourselves and think that we're crazy for feeling these ways, when so many people do.
People are with us. Yeah, we are not alone. Our feelings are not singular. There are many other people that feel like us. I love this. Okay, I'm pretty sure we've spoken for about 3.5 hours.
This is amazing. Okay, so we haven't.
I don't know.
Well, we have many, many, many more episodes to get into all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, so we wrap this up. We thank everybody for listening to this first episode.
Yeah,
our ramblings,
so much.
And I'm so excited to be doing this with both of you. Randy,
Me too.
I can't wait for you to be sitting with us. So the 3 of us are sitting in the same room doing this.
Yes.
That's something that I absolutely look forward to.
Me too.
Baby,
too.
I love you, and I love the fact that we get to sit next to each other and do this. This is the start of something really fun and amazing, and I'm so excited to see where it goes.
I second all of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Oldish, you can listen to it anywhere you can find podcasts. iHeart has been incredibly generous and given us this platform to do this, so we thank them. Go to Oldish Pod at Instagram and DM us with any questions or any way you would like to be a part of this, or
maybe there's subjects you want us to talk about too that we haven't
absolutely
thought of.
Because and there I'm sure there are going to be a ton that I will not personally think of. Randy, I know that you will, so I have no doubt in my mind that we'll have endless topics in what it is we're doing.
We have so many juicy things coming.
We do.
I am
many.
Really, really excited. All right, next time, everyone.
Yeah.
We'll
On
see
that
you
note,
next time.
thank you. We'll talk to you next week.
Peace out, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Yes, you guys are amazing. Make sure you guys go and follow us on Instagram at OldishPod. And you can also go and leave us a message at our own hotline, which is 855-OLDISH-3.
Make sure and write us a review. Leave us 5 stars if you loved it. Leave us 5 stars if you didn't.
We love 5 stars. We love 5 stars.
Yeah.
We like 5 stars.
Yeah. See you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
See you next week, everyone.
In a world filled with financial information, Citizens can help you make sense of it. So whether you're signing up or hitting snooze on some financial newsletters, scrolling through your socials that all seem to be saying the same thing, or getting together with your neighbors at a cookout to game plan college funds, you're ready to make the most of it. Make sense of your money with Citizens. Learn more at citizensbank.com/made-ready.
We are coming back to Atlanta. Right now. Whoa. Mark your calendars because the second annual Black Effect Podcast Festival is happening on Saturday, April 27th. Hosted by B-Dot and Pretty V. Last year was nuts, but we about to do it bigger and better. We've got some of your favorite podcasts like Carefully Reckless, Horrible Decision, $1 Million Worth of Game, just to name a few. Tickets go on sale today, right now. Go to blackeffect.com/podcast festival. Get them. We'll see you there.
The Black Effect presents Family Therapy, and I'm your host, Elliot Connie. Jay is the woman in this dynamic who is currently co-parenting 2 young boys with her former partner, David.
David, he is a leader. He just don't want to leave me.
But how do you lead a woman? How do you lead in a relationship? Like, what's the blueprint?
David, you just asked the most important question. Listen to Family Therapy on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.